Yes, good afternoon. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to our next lecture on our course regarding the Leadership Certification Program. And today, particularly this afternoon, we'll be talking about presentation and public speaking skills for leaders. Presentation and public speaking skills for leaders. My name is Sako Melik, and we are operating under the auspice of Institute of Management Consultant Tanzania. The aim of the Leadership Certification Program is to build some essential skills for people to become leaders. And as you're aware, current definition of leadership is not about someone on the leadership position, but anybody who has the ability to command, influence, and therefore achieve the business goal, that becomes a leader. Leadership position is just by the way, because all of us cannot be fixing on those positions. And in that regard, we consider leadership training is for us building some certain skills and capacity and capabilities that will lead to a person increase the ability to influence and to support the organization to reach its goals. So this afternoon, as you see from the presentation, I would like to introduce the Institute of Management Consultants Tanzania. That is, it's offering courses to build up soft skills to the people. And the Institute provides examination in 3 areas. Number 1, leadership certification. That is one of the areas which can be done as a separate undertaking for 3 months. And soon thereafter, you make a lot of practical presentation. Thereby, the panel will award you to see that, yes, now you can be a person who can influence organization in different areas. But also within that, we learn the management consulting certification for creating a team, to creating professionalism in consulting. Now there are internal consultants and external consultants. So both, they are called management consultants. Provided you are bringing some advice to the management, you become a consultant. So having some core skills for you to become able to influence better, that we call it management consulting training. Now in management consulting, we've got examinations and a professional examination done in December and June every year. And the December examination now is ready. We are closing the registration on 18th of October. So if you are interested, you may register. The course is conducted online every Saturday, but also you may access the materials anytime online as you consider suitable for you. You may send us any question and inquiry and we'll respond within the next 48 hours so that you may keep abreast of what you do. But also may call us and we may set an interview and time to discuss some of the difficult issues you consider difficult. So I welcome you. You may visit our website for more details, and we are able to there to provide the support to you. Now let's go back to our course. The purpose of this course, the public speaking and presentation skills for leaders. Number 1 is to develop understanding on benefit of public speaking and presentation skills. Number 2 is to ensure that those who are attending this course understand the principles of becoming better public speaker, but also is to develop a convincing and attractive presentations. Also is to understand the techniques for calming the nerve. Is one of the very complicated area, and I can tell you, no matter your level, but always as you began presenting, there is a certain level of adrenaline that is increasing in your body, and if you're not careful, you may end up being frustrated during the presentation. You saw during I was starting this lecture this afternoon, at least my mind was boggled a bit, but you can see I managed to retain my adrenaline, the normal level, by taking some breathing, and then I come back. So there is not much experience on it, so we need to understand some techniques for doing so. But also is balancing the fear and the benefits of becoming a great speaker, because public speaking is one of the areas which is very complicated to most of people. We'll try to learn about the do and don't do in public speaking and presentation, but also we learn about the 10 commandments of public speaking. Then at least we believe that having such kind of coverage, it will help the would-be leader to become more confident and able to influence in cause of presentation or public speaking as he undertakes his career in leadership, whether in personal business or in organizational business, whatsoever could be, but at least some capabilities will be embedded in his life that will enable him to become a better person. So let's start with, there are two areas we'll cover. There is the first area is what we call presentation skills, and the second area is what we call public speaking skills. So let's start with the presentation skills. Yeah, people might ask, but now I'm talking about creating a presentation, the skill that will enable you to be able to create appealing presentation and be able to present succinctly in the public. You need, number one, to define the purpose and the audience of the presentation. Before you go for presentation, why do you want to present? And who will be the audience? So in purpose, is it for purpose of informing? Do you want to instruct? So the will differ. Do you want to educate? Or you want to be a motivational talk? Do you want to sell a certain product? Or you like to inspire? Do you want to entertain? Or the aim is to persuade? So all that will be the structuring of your presentation. You need to be very clear that I'm going to present this after my purpose. I want to educate on a certain product, on a certain development in engineering, on a certain business align, or I want to call people to contribute to participate on a particular thing, that is to motivate, or I want just choose because I know about that subject, so I want to speak a lot and give people insight on what is supposed to be done. So you need to be very clear on your purpose, but also you need to define who is going to be your audience, because some of the presentation might not be appropriate for a certain age or particular size of people. What about the gender? Is it a mixed gender or is biased? Because we end up putting he or she, and some people will be offended because of that unless you define it very clearly from the beginning of your presentation. You need to consider the education level. Many times as I'm doing the presentation, I've done a number of presentations. Even today as I'm presenting this paper before you, I've got a presentation just in some few next hours. And therefore, I've already tried to consider the education level. If I find that is the education levels of the people I'm presenting, they are from lower to higher level, then I will just trying to mix up my presentation slides so that I may capture both people from different age groups. So it's very important to understand education. Otherwise, if I maybe be talking to people who are at least finished O level or A level, or they're not having even a standard 7 education, my presentation will never be the same. I will use a lot of graphics and pictures. But also you need to, number 4 is to look on the interest and expectations. You need to be very sure that you are addressing, assume yourself to be a presentee, a person whose presentation is going to be sent. What kind of expectation you have to, so you need to answer the expectation of the people. But also you need to consider whether this presentation people, they just get it for first time, or there are some people in the group who have got prior knowledge. Now this is very important. This is a foundation of every foundation. That part of that is to define your purpose and the audience of your presentation. Number 2 is to choose the method of delivery. Now this is where it might be sometimes difficult. What kind of delivery method you want to go? As you go to present, you need to find what approach, what method. So there are 4 methods you may choose from. First one is a manuscript. Manuscript is you read a text. I think you've seen a lot of them, particularly politicians in our country, who will go in front on the pulpit and they will start reading verbatim, word by word. Unfortunately, it's not a very good way of presentation because it's very unnatural, but also it's very stiff. For those who are at least of a certain age, but when those people are young, you have seen Mwalimu Nyerere, how he was presenting. You have seen Martin Luther King, how he was presenting. So it's when you don't read, people assume you're natural. You're flowing according to the public requirement. So manuscript is a good presentation. Depends now on the audience you want to talk about. Sometimes if you're afraid to make some mistakes, it's better to write and read. Particularly if you put a very kind of policy statement which is of high level and might result into multiple misinterpretation, it's better read. Despite the fact that you won't be very attractive to the audience. People want to see you natural. I've been in presentation for almost 30 years, and I can assure you, every time I enter a presentation or a speech or someone need to speak, when I speak from my small summary notes rather than reading, people are more engaged, they're more motivated, they are more eager to listen to what I speak. Number 2 is memorization. You may decide to memorize the whole speech. Barack Obama was very fond of this. And the problem is sometimes you don't know what's happening to your brain. You may have a lot of long pauses and distractions. That's the only challenge which you may have sometimes in cause of doing such kind of an approach. So you need to be careful. Make sure that your brain is smart. And it's better sometimes to have some few points somewhere to remind you on the steps you need to go, because otherwise you may end up being frustrated even more. But also it depends on your level of ability and capability regarding the public speaking. As you get more immersed and understanding on public speaking, then it will be very easy to be able to have a natural way to memorize the speech. Number 3 is all what to call it extemporaneous, whereby is a combination of both manuscript, is a combination of memorization, but also is a combination of the so-called improv. So this is more, it's like a kind, it's a kind of a mix. You mix both the methods, which is most common, whereby you carefully prepare speech and use the outline to rehearse. So you prepare speech and use, that is extemporaneous. 3, the combination of both of them. You rehearse a speech, you write key points, conversation tone, you look on the speaker and audience interaction, this kind of extemporaneous. But also there is last one is the so-called impromptu. Sometimes maybe called, say, a word. People are closing a sermon or a ceremony somewhere, so they want to say something, short speech, very you don't have preparation mostly. You need to light some few points. It's better to speak from the notes, but also you need to be natural, strong eye contact that can help you, and the audience should be much engaged. So those are different ways you can make your delivery, whether you're using PowerPoint or using anything. The good thing with PowerPoint is just like already some key summaries that will help you to do the presentation. But I'm talking about whereby you need to have your speech already written. How do you deliver it? We shall learn about speech writing at a certain level. Those people went to the advanced leadership training. And going from there, you need to choose the type of your presentation. What the presentation type? Because is it a formal meeting? Is it an informal meeting, or is it a semi-formal kind of discussion? Now, in formal meeting, a speaker speaks to audience and audience listen, and the speaker provides information. There will be at the end of presentation, maybe 20 minutes or 15 minutes normally. You may have session for question and answers. Maybe some number of speakers might present, and then at the end, people have questions and answers. Why? Because that's more formalized meeting. It might be in the conferences, in meeting. You need to have a different kind of presentation. But also it might be semi-formal, whereby audience participants are involved. You provide a particular, maybe most of this is a training. If you're providing training, it's a semi-formal. You can't have formalities in the training, because otherwise you just make that. As you move, you need to explain, to elaborate. People should ask questions. People can interrupt, and that's kind of a training that you can have. That's semi-formal. But you can have a kind of informal, whereby it's normally used for discussion. The chairman is sitting down and the presenter could stand or could sit. There will be a lot of dialogue in the question, but also there will be getting some ideas on the input on paper. I think this also has been done a number of times. I've done it myself in the office, whereby the chair will be the CEO or be the certain head of department, and then we can run through the presentation and talk about what he thinks is the idea, and then we contribute towards the end to that to meet the idea according to what could be best done on that. So that is you need to choose a type of presentation that you need to go with. It's very, very important. Those are some basic things you need to master them. Then how do you do the presentation? How do you prepare the presentation? I'm talking about the PowerPoint presentation. I'm not yet on public speaking. I know people would like to rush on public speaking, but I'm talking about our presentation. Number one, you need to plan for the presentation, and this might involve number of things together. That is the plan for the presentation might have a lot of things to be there. We shall try to look on that in deep. Then we say prepare the presentation, and we shall also see how to make your best PowerPoints, because let me tell you, presentation tells who you are to the public. A single judgment they can put on you might be linked to your professional raising or professional failure. It might be a goodbye or might be welcome back. So you need to be very smart. You need to very clearly plan how you put about the presentation and how do you prepare for the presentation. But also I want to talk about some issues on PowerPoint, because some people, they think that you need to take all the manuscript you have and put on PowerPoint. I can say that it's not allowed. It's unprofessional. It's technically wrong. So let's start with the planning for the presentation. As we said before, it is very important to present something you know. Don't present something you don't know. Don't get some first time thing which you never have had before. You can present something you don't know, but to the level of your knowledge. So avoid to go to the details, and you may be very smart to the people, telling them that, okay, maybe next time I shall go to the depth of it, or just this is where the level you can talk about. But also engage the audience. They might be more informed than who you are. But number two is, you need to consider, I'm going to make a presentation indoor, outdoor, am I going to be standing or sitting, and how am I prepared? That's very important. I went to a presentation yesterday and I thought it was my first day. I wasted a lot of time to locate the place, which is very wrong and it's not very good to do. But also it was an outdoor presentation. My PowerPoint was not very clearly seen. So I would like to know before, it was to be very easy. I thought it was an impromptu. Somebody was supposed to go there and I was called to chip in because that person had some issues as a human being. Number three, are there any event going on before and after your presentation? That's very important, because you need to capture what really others have spoken. Otherwise you may become monotonous, or you may not be able to convince the public what you're talking about. You need to plan your presentation within the line of time that's allocated. Don't go further. And I've got a lot of incidents where person, my time is not there. Person will say, the time is too limited. I would have gone into this. So it's rushing the slide before the presentee, before the people who is presenting for, is destructive, and it's very unprofessional. It shows how disorganized you are. So avoid that. Better you have little number of slides, or the number of slides, not that what so many slides, and then present. Then you have some time to discuss and explain about something. You need to also consider visiting the presentation room before you get filled. This is very important. But sometimes it may be far away. So always what I do, for example, I may be in Dodoma and I'm presenting in Moshi. The day I'm going there, before I go to that place, it might be even the early morning before the seminar starts or the workshop starts, I always visit the place. Very important. Only a few occasions, I told you about the yesterday issue. It is because it was something which it was impromptu. I was trying to cover up so that we may not lose the credibility of those people who are waiting for us. It's my colleague. But normally it's good to look on the room. Does it have everything? Does it have speaker? Does it have a podium if you're using a podium? Does it have a place for you to sit? Does it have a place to put your PowerPoint projection? Do you have some projector there? Do you have some tools and equipment in that place? What about the training materials? Are you going to provide them? So those are some of the questions you need to address before you go to the presentation. So please remember, I'm talking about planning for presentation focus areas. Number 2 is prepare presentation. Number 4, PowerPoint. So we are finished with this plan for the presentation, and now let's take about the prepare the presentation as our number 2. You need to ask some question: how, when, who, and how. Those are the 5 questions. Why, when, who, and how. Those are basic things to always remember to ask him. And when you prepare the presentation, you need to answer those questions, because the audience will look on you as an informant. They want to see something new, something that is challenging their mind, something that is attracting them, something that is convincing them. So you need to be sure your introduction must grab the audience. Always, I start without, if I'm using a PowerPoint presentation, I will start off PowerPoint and talk about the current experiences on what I want to present, which are very rare. I can go to the newspaper and talk to people about the newspaper. So what I want is to release the tension. Most of the time you find the people you're presenting to, they're new, you've never been with them there, and therefore there's that kind of distance. So you need to make them to be engaged as part of them. That's very critical. So make sure that your introduction should grab the audience. But also you need to see that your slides and the presentation, the points you're talking about, they've got very clear flow. But also make sure that you don't put your presentation very complicated. Keep your presentation simple and be focused. And if there are some jargons, please make sure that they are clearly addressed before you go further. Otherwise, remove the jargons, put them in a very plain language. It's better. We're talking about making influence to your audience. In part, this is leadership, and therefore you need to be careful with that. But also, you need to make sure that your conclusion is strong. It's like with the introduction, should grab the audience, the introduction, and your conclusion should be very strong. And but also you should practice your presentation. Make sure that you call someone, or you are just looking on your mirror before you go to presentation a day. I remember in those early days, I would go to the mirror, I would laugh at myself, I would talk as if with authority, and sometimes I would see my gestures, and I would just laugh on my mirror while I'm doing the presentation. So you must be able to practice and practice. We say rehearse and rehearse before another colleague. It's one of the tricks that is mostly used. So this is how you prepare for the presentation. So we said about planning the presentation, preparing the presentation, and now let's see some tips on the PowerPoint presentation itself. What are some critical issues you need to consider? Number 1, make sure that your PowerPoint presentation is easy to read and understand. But also make sure your slides, they are consistent. Have similar fonts, easy to read, easy to see from every angle of the room. Please, this is not a verbatim of your manuscript. Somewhere you've got a detailed paper. The presentation is just the key points. So avoid putting up everything on your presentation. No. That's not appropriate in a profession. I've seen a lot of people doing that because they're not trained on presentation, how to prepare the PowerPoint presentation. You must make sure that you've got your talking notes somewhere and put some very few things. And we say that avoid the sentences and the paragraph. Don't put paragraphs on a presentation. It will be very wrong. It will bore people. It cannot influence. But also, you need to set up everything in advance. You need to know the projector. I always say you may carry your own projector sometimes, even if you know that they're providing projector. Why I'm saying so? Because of experience. So many times I've gone to presentation and just end up being frustrated. Why? Because there is no projector, or the projector just failed to operate, or my computer does not have the similar gadgets that the projector is. The projector is outdated, old-fashioned, and that results into embarrassment, wasting time, and people never forgive you. You need to have your laptop, your cords for laptop, spare projector bulb if need, but also if you are going to put up a video, make sure that you've got external speakers. You need to have a contingency plan. I remember during my first early days of presentation, when I started to present, the computer started to update itself, and that was bad. people had to wait for 30 minutes before I start. And I was talking to the professors and doctors. I could see myself sweating before the public. So make sure that you've got your PowerPoint printed. And it's very important for you to save your presentation in different media through the flash drive. Send your email to yourself. Don't trust these electronic equipments. Anything can happen. And if you're not careful, plan for the contingency. Yes, that's very critical. Sometimes print even your presentation. Put it aside so that if all fails, you could stand and still present using what you have as information. Now, I would like to discuss with you the 10 commandments of PowerPoint. What are the 10 commandments of PowerPoint? Number 1, please don't read the slides. I've seen these several people reading the slides. Don't. You are not going to influence people. On the early days of my presentation, I've said that I've been in the presentation industry for almost 30 years. And therefore, I've seen this mistake repeated by a lot of even very mature people. Don't read the slides. Don't. It's better you read your talking notes than your slides. Why? Because a person will think that, why have I come all this way? Why should I not read it at evening? So you may find a lot of people in the room start looking on their computers, starting doing something, reading on their phone. Before you know it, you're alone. Number 2, make sure that before you go there, you know what you want to say. What you are saying is, don't pull a slide, next slide, before you know what will it be about. I repeat, don't pull the next slide before you know what it will be about. Number 3, avoid animation at all. There are people coming with some frenzy colors, frenzy appearances. Those people are dropping from down up, unless you want to explain about motion movements. So avoid it. It distracts. Number 4, put a single idea on a single slide. Don't put all idea on a single slide. It becomes very populated and it becomes very thin. People might feel it in the room. Number 5, avoid the copyrighted materials and let's state about them. Number 6, make sure that your text is large enough. I've seen this also mistake being repeated now and then. A person will come to the presentation and say, this cannot be seen well, but I can read for you. Never do that mistake. Avoid it completely. Number 7, avoid to stand on the beam of the projector. The projector should not project you. That shows lack of professionalism. You know, people, they judge a lot of things, and you've got people of different background and human by nature, they need to criticize, they like to criticize. So they don't go about your strong points. They will always look on your weak points and trying to propagate that. Number 9, avoid low resolution photos. You've seen my first photo on this presentation. I put it purposely. Those kind of photos are not good. Number 10, make sure that you've got a backup of your presentation on another slide or on another device or printed copy. And another bonus part of 10 commandments is avoid giving the paper slides before you present. I repeat, avoid giving the slides before you present. This is a mistake people make a lot of time. Already by giving them, you have disengaged them. The people can read very fast and they can just tell the people better than what you say. Let people have excitement of next until you finish your presentation. So don't think that is very professional to give them slides before present. No. Avoid that. That's wrong. Now these are 10 commandments which are very important for you to understand, and you may put that perfect presentation that people will admire about. That makes an end to our first session of the PowerPoint presentation or presentation skills. It's my belief that you need to repeat and repeat about what I've been saying for you to master. But also, we are giving mentorship. So you may call us, and through the website, the www.imct.or.tz, the Institute of Management Consultants website, and we may support you to grow and become influencer. Let me tell you, if you've got these things, you adhere to the 10 commandments, soon you'll raise to the mark. You'll be a highly sought of person who would be presentation in number of occasions. Now let me go to the second part. This part B, and this is more killer, but I believe that you'll understand it. So the second part, I'm talking about public speaking skills. The first part, it was about presentation. And people think that you can be a public speaker without best present. No. They go together. So we started with hard side. The hard side is presentation. The soft side is now public speaking. Public speaking is very beneficial to a person who will master it. And as I said, we are building up leaders. And a leader should be able to communicate effectively. And therefore, he must be an eloquent public speaker. It helps a lot because people want to hear people speaking. But also, as you want to communicate, whether it's business or whatsoever, you need to be an eloquent public speaker. It helps to reduce nervousness in a conference speech. Why? Because getting knowledge on how to do public speaking can help you to grow. It supports your emotional balance in the impromptu speech, in the wedding, when you give your eulogy or loved one and inspire group at the meeting. But also it enhances reputation. It boosts self-confidence. And lastly is it also, when you speak in this one occasion, I can tell you, myself, I've been called to a lot of meetings. Now I'm trying to cancel them. And I also have increased my price. Firstly, it was just going everywhere. Free, being paid is all right. But because of the tight schedule at that moment, I always pay higher price. I remember I was reading a book by Myles Monroe, and he said he went to public presentation or public speaking meeting and was paid $25,000 for 2 hours. I never understood. I thought that is lying. But now, as I'm going deep, as you experience it, you go more practicing, you become a well sought for kind of a public speaker, and that will increase also your earning. So it gives you opportunity. But also, it's very interesting when you master the control your nerve and your adrenaline. Speaking in the public, it becomes a very interesting part of you. But before I start the training, let's talk about the 9 fears in the world. Based on the research, very clearly, number 1 fear in the world is public speaking. But it's not public speaking to speak, but fright, the stage fright. That is, many people, when they stand before a public, before people, there is something in the body that tells you now you're not naked before the people. And this is called fear. Fear is false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real. It's not true. But now because of the fear, you fail to express what you needed. Some people may find them shaking. Some people may find them sweating. Until you develop the ability to control your deadline, it is very difficult. A number of calls I've received during my career in context of this profession. Many people have asked me, I want to be a best speaker, but I'm afraid to speak to the public. And always I need to mentor them. And I'm telling you, as you mentor people, they develop that skill. You know, everybody could be a top speaker, no matter we call them temperaments. Whether he's sanguine, maybe sanguine might be a natural speaker. But now, it is very difficult for a phlegmatic or melancholic person to stand up before people. Sometimes it's very complicated, but you can develop that skill and ability and become attractive speaker. So number one is public speaking. So public speaking is more feared than even death and the end of life. People are afraid of public speaking than spiders and snakes. People are afraid of public speaking than even darkness and tyranny. People are afraid of public speaking than AIDS and altitude derivation. And people on the social situation, they're also afraid when they meet people or they go to the meeting. Normally, it's a natural thing. It's not. You need to come against that. You need to unlearn that. But also, some people, I met a lot of people who cannot fly in the plane. They better travel on the road or go unaway alone, but cannot travel on the plane. But also, we're talking about open spaces and squares. How do you stand there and speak? But also, there's an issue of thunder and writing people are afraid of. But also, people are afraid of the small rooms or confined places. So, but all these other 10, the most difficult thing in human life is public speaking. You might not understand, perhaps because you've developed some skills and become better. But also, I can assure you, is one of the easiest way to master if you are carefree to get the knowledge on how to and make a difference to your life. Now, let's go to the techniques. How do you become a great public speaker? And if you listen carefully and decide to change, you are seeing you are transforming your life. Those people are looking at you, but even your organization or your business. Number one, you need to plan. Number two, you need to practice. Number three, you need to know how to engage the audience. Number four, you need to know how to use your body language. Number five, you need to think positively. And lastly, you need to make sure that your nerves are calm. How do you do that? So those 6 things are very important for you to master your public speaking capability. Because the first thing is to prepare presentation, whether an impromptu speech, but the second thing is how to stand there. What kind of appearance, what kind of your mode of doing that. So you need a skill. So we shall go through each one of them to better understand of what are they. Chances are that you will at some point be able to speak in public as part of your role as a consultant, as a leader, and this can be very intimidating. But the benefit of being able to speak well in the public outweigh any perceived fear. And to become the better speaker, you need to have a number of strategies. So let's see, how do you plan? How do you plan for public speaking? You need to make sure that you plan your communication appropriately, to think about how you will structure what you're going to say, from opening words all the way to the closing statements. Plan it. And this is a mistake many people make. The people want to do a formal presentation like an impromptu. And lack of planning is failure to present. Lack of planning is misrepresenting of your really capability and abilities. Think about how important the book's first paragraph. If it does not grab, you are likely going to put it down. And the same principle goes for public speaking. From beginning, you need to make sure that your audience are grabbed. You know that in each area, to have attention grabbing is very critical. And it can include like a quote from a famous person, a quote from a famous person on the topic you're going to present. Some statistics, for example, saying about marriage breakup or court cases, or how many people are dying per time. It can help you to start, but also funny anecdotes that will lighten the mood. You may put a good humor, but be careful because many people put up the humor, but they're not able to present the humor very well, and it will be even more frustrating because people now will never even laugh, and then it's starting from there, you lose control, and confidence is just dispersed. You'll want to develop your closing remark, and what you make your audience to summarize what you've covered. Key points or points that will be a takeaway. You need to stress any action you want them to take before the session or after the session. Planning help you to be on your feet. It is important to think about unpredictable question, and also trying to think about what audience will question more. When I plan for presentation, normally I ask what will be the difficulty. So I present to myself as an audience, and that has helped me to have a very good kind of presentation. You need to know that it's very important to make a presentation that you develop yourself point by point and build it up. Don't copy a presentation from someone or a speech from someone. It will be very frustrating. You need to know tools that you may use, but also you need to know that when the audience see that you are reading too much or you are not organized, they will not believe you. They will think that you don't have that knowledge you're presenting. That's number one, that is planning. And number two is what you call practice. You need to practice. And you say that there is an old catch which says practice make perfect. You cannot be confident comparing speaker without practicing. And to practice, you need to get opportunities to speak. As a consultant or as a leader, you've a lot of people you can speak even from your family level. Put up meetings in your family level and talk to them about certain topic. And through that, you develop your ability and the capability to speak in the public. We say that a great place to develop your public speaking skills is to know if you already know your audience or you're familiar with the material that's surrounding, or that will give you the higher comfort level. Now, many times is to volunteer to speak in meetings. Just volunteer it. It will be difficult, it will be flattening, but do it. And when you're planning to deliver a presentation or speak, create it easier as possible. The area you put it together, the more time you have to practice. So don't rush. Make sure that you get time to prepare for it. This is not a time to wait until the last minute rush. Dangerous. You need to practice a lot of time, use the resource that you've got, and practice how you do speak the words until they flow very quickly. And if appropriate, do the practice run before small audience. It might be your family member. And this can help you to calm your fears and make you feel more comfortable with the material. The audience can also give you useful feedback both in your material and in your performance. Wherever possible, record presentations and speeches. Just make sure they record what you say. Many times, when now I'm presenting to you, I'm recording this, and I will go back and listen to it. I've seen somewhere I can make some mistake like, that's wrong, okay? But you improve from that perspective. And you need to practice repressing the verbal stores with brief talk. Be careful with your body language. Are you swaying? Don't sway. I remember one person was presenting, moving forward 2 steps, backward 4 steps, forward 2 steps, backward 4 steps, moving right 1 step, moving left. So it's like a dancing person. Rather than becoming an ultimate speaker, he became like a cartoon before the people. And he ended up being frustrated himself because nobody understood what subject he was talking about. So be careful with your gestures. Make sure that you appear natural. Don't be like a person is forced. And make sure that you look on people, how do they see you about. It's very dangerous sometimes when you stand on a podium because always people cannot see. They see just your only one part, which also can cause attention to people to lose attention about what you're saying. So even if there's a podium, you may move out of the podium, and that's I've done several times. Depends on how formal the meeting is, particularly if it's a training session. Don't be a podium grabber, but be a podium avoider. It will help you a lot. And look at how you handle interruptions, because you may be in the presentation, someone can raise his hand or can speak loud. Or sometimes you may have to sneeze as a human being. And sometimes you may get questions which you're not prepared for. Never allow your face to show surprise or hesitation or annoyance. Otherwise, practice to your best to ensure that how do you manage interruptions from the people. Number 3, you need to engage the audience. When you speak, try your best to engage the audience. This makes them feel you feel isolated as a speaker, and it keeps everyone involved in the message. Try to ask some leading questions. I've done this before, but normally when I'm starting, the first 5 minutes, I make sure that my audience is comfortable with me, and encourage people to participate and ask questions. Keep your mind in words that reduce power of the speaker. So think about some sentence. For example, I just want to add to that I think is really needed for common understanding of the public speaking. Or I just think the public speaking is a good thing. Already you lose interest with me. If I say public speaking is a good thing, I put the affirmative, it shows my confidence, and the audience will be very comfortable. But don't say statement which are opinion. Avoid them. If possible, don't talk about it. If you have something which is just an opinion, avoid it. You need also to avoid words like actually, because when you use the word like actually, you convey sense of submissiveness or even a surprise. You make sure that your sentence is very clear. Also pay attention to how you're speaking. If you're nervous, you might talk too quickly. This increases the chances that you trip over your words and say something you don't mean. Force yourself to slow down by breathing deeply. This is a technique that I've been taught from day one of my presentation. Breathing is critical. Take the air in. Pause. Don't worry. Nobody should be pushing from behind. Don't worry. Pause. Drink some water. Avoid reading word by word from your notes. Completely avoid it, because when you read, you're not talking to your audience. I've seen this even to the most high-level leaders. It's not appropriate. It's very unprofessional. Even if you are reading up your notes, make sure that you look occasionally. But that can also make you awkward and can show people that you are less confident. It's important for you to have a list of key points or bullet points. If it's a workshop, you need to cover issues relating to planning, practice, and engaging the audience. Your body language, thinking critically, and you need also to know how to calm your nerves. Number 4 is about body language. It's about the body language. So the first stage was planning. Number 2 is about practice. Number 3 is about engaging your audience. Number 4 is about your body language. That's an area we are. The body language will give you your audience constant clue about your inner state. If you're nervous or if you don't believe of what you're saying, the audience will know as you present. Research has shown that as you present, 94%, if not 95%, of whatsoever you are there is on non-verbal. So your verbal speech does not make much impact than the way you stand, the way you put it. Many people prefer to speak behind podiums and when giving presentation. Yes, podium can be very useful for holding notes, but they put barrier between you and the audience. They can become crutch, giving you an hiding place from a lot of people who would have seen you. So instead of standing behind the podium, you need to walk around. Use gestures to engage the audience. The movement energy will also come through your voice, making it more active and passionate. Don't forget to smile. When you smile, your audience is more inclined to forgive nervousness, and they will be rooting for you. In that regard, also think positively. Positive thinking can make a huge difference to success of communication, because it will help you to feel more confident. Fear makes it too easy to slip into a cycle of negative self-talk, especially before you speak. Self-sabotaging thoughts such as, I'll never be good at this. Avoid it. I'm going to fall flat on my face. Avoid it. So, those things will lower your confidence and decrease chances for you to achieve your best of humor. Use affirmation to raise your confidence, particularly before the speech or presentation. Visualize yourself giving powerful and successful presentation, and how you feel, so that you may make a positive difference to others. Remember, you can use words like, I'm an expert on this, I know the subject, I'm going to do it well. Please, I repeat this, very important, don't forget to smile. Don't forget to smile. Number 6 is, you need to cope with your nerves. The way you become fiery or shy is wrapped up in your life and makes you people to notice very quickly. Chances is, very often, when you speak before others, you can think about some terrible things which are happening. Some people imagine about forgetting every point you want to make. I remember someone went to the presentation and said, I've forgotten, I can't remember what I want to talk about. Or doing so horribly. It's just a fear. When you do it horribly, I can assure you, people will never call you again to speak. So make an effort to stop thinking about yourself, your nervousness, your fear. Instead, focus on your audience. What you are saying is about them. Remember that you are trying to help or educate your audience in some way. And your message is very important than your fear. Concentrate on the audience's wants and needs instead of your own. Crowds are more intimidating than individuals. So think of your speech as a conversation that you are having with one person. Although your audience may be 1,000 people, focus on one person at a time and talk to that person as if he or she is the only person in that room. You should seek several people within the audience to focus, and ideally look on people from different corners of your room. Don't stare at one person. How do you conquer presentation nerves? Number 1, know your audience. Number 2, know your material. Number 3, structure your presentation. And number 4, calm yourself from inside. Know your audience, know your material, structure your presentation, come from inside. So it's very important to know your audience. If you are asked to speak to a group, make sure that you take time to find a few things about, like for example, who are my audience? Are they teachers, parents? Are they professionals? Are they CEOs? Are they board members? What do they already know about this topic I'm going to talk about? Are they experts on the topic, or receive this as brand information? Is there a meeting or event planned before you talk? The more confident you are that you're presenting yourself and interesting materials for your audience, the less nervous you'll be overall. The great tip is to greet the audience members at the door and do a quick survey of why they are there and what they expect. Always when I enter, before I go further, I ask people, what is your expectation? And I point people from that corner, all the 4 corners. That will make people to know that you have respected them and you value them, and you prove to them that it's about contributor knowledge, not expertise. It will help you a lot to build rapport in the group. But also you need to know your material. It's very dangerous trying to give a presentation on a topic which you don't know. I've seen this, some people, I'm doing this because of my professor so-and-so is going abroad. That is not allowed. You need to be careful that you must matter and understand the material that you want to present. But also make sure the structure of your presentation is very ideal so that you may calm your nerve by memorizing what you intend to say. But be careful. You need to make sure that your delivery should not sound like it's coming from robot. If you miss a word or draw a blank, your whole presentation is thrown off, and then your nerves get worse. It is far better to structure a presentation so that you give yourself clues of what is coming next. It's very important. Then the last part on this is now calming the nerves or coping with the nerves. This is one of the most complicated and difficult area, but maybe some few tips. Number one, place and massage your forehead. Number two, just before you start talking, pause, make eye contact and smile. This last moment of peace is very relaxing and give you time to adjust to being center of attention. Before you start talking, pause, make eye contact, left, right, and smile. You need to speak more slowly than you would in the conversation. But also, you need to be careful by leaving some pauses between sentences and paragraphs. The slow pace will help you to calm down. But also move around during giving of your presentation, because that will give you some nervous energy. Remember that audience is there to get information, and it's your job to put across them. When it comes to presentation, nervousness is inevitable. Letting them get better for you is not. You need to develop a strategy of taking focus off your nerves and putting that energy to positive use. The controlling as much of uncertainty as you can, you increase your confidence in your ability to deliver the excellent presentation. The confidence then is counteracted to your nerves, and you create a positive cycle for yourself. Nerves are not your enemy, and you don't have to fear public speaking. For your next presentation, be knowledgeable and be practiced and well practiced and prepared. Try out some physical relaxation techniques. Amaze yourself and impress your audience with calm and cool delivery of great presentation. Remember, you need many time before you start talking any point. Pause. Move your eye left, right, then smile. Put up a point. I'm telling you, I see you going far from this. So those are some critical tips to avoid a lot of things during your presentation, as the last one during the so-called calming nerves. And these are the things that you need to listen and learn about them, because they're critical. Planning, practice, engage your audience, your body language, thinking positively, and calming nerves. Those are mundane to the best presentation you can make in the public. Let's see some skills for presentation. There are 5 skills which are very important for a presenter. Number 1 is organization skills. Number 2 is empath. Number 3 is body language. Number 4 is humor. And number 5 is the so-called communication. So to start with, chances are that at some point you have to speak in the public as part of your career as a consultant. And therefore, understanding and preparing, it's very important and critical to develop the best of whom you are. Organization is all about how do you organize your presentation. We use the basic tool that we call it, you need to have an introduction, you need to have a main body and conclusion. Those are the common presentation requirement, IBC, introduction, body and conclusion. Number 2, on empath, you need to be sensitive. You need to know the interest of your audience. Avoid talking things which are very sensitive and controversial. You may leave some of the things, but also mind your language. What about the body language? You need to be careful on your posture. Avoid the frigid. Make sure maintain eye contact. Be careful with your facial expression. But also, be careful what kind of gestures you are leaving. So all you need to manage, you must do whatever you plan to do, not something which you do because of control the natural prompt for a difference. How do you communicate? Make sure that you use loud voice. I've gone to a number of presentations. The voice of presenter become too small because it's nervous. So avoid that. Speak clearly. Your intonation should show that you know the subject. But also, maintain pauses. If you can put up stories and jokes. Always, I use stories and jokes to make people understand. People laugh, people will be happy, people will enjoy. But prepare them well in advance. Don't go to the presentation room and start creating up story and jokes. Now, what are the do's in public speaking? Number 1, make sure that your first sentences you stand in the public, it grabs the people. It might be the flying news in the market, in the place in town, a certain story that is written the subject you're going to present, that will raise the emotion. Pick the right word to impact a message. So don't just speak any word which comes. Think before you speak. Maintain positive eye contact with the people. Practice and practice and practice. Those are the do's. The don't. Avoid talking too fast or too slowly. To talk too slowly is also bad. Talk too fast is also because you disengage people and you want to influence. Don't read the slides. Avoid use of and other filler words. Use pauses to make a difference. Avoid fidget, but also don't allow movement from left, right, as if you're dancing the music. As you finalize your presentation, there might be some question, but also be prepared for the interruption during the course of your presentation. When you respond to the questions, maintain eye contact. Relax. Answer wisely. Listen and restate the question. Be honest if you don't have an answer. Lastly, I've taken this from TED Talks. It's about 10 commandments of public speaking. As you cross today, you should not simply trot the usual stick. Number 2, dream about being a great presenter, doing great things. Don't be shy. Number 4, show your passion. Number 4, be a storyteller. Number 5, comment on what others have said. That makes a very good connection. Number 6, don't talk about only your success. Also speak about your failures. Don't show that you're a superhuman. You should not front your ego. Avoid selling any product during presentation. Laughter is a good thing, so put some humor. Number 9, never read your speech. Avoid it. Put some points for that. But also, don't steal the time of the people that follow you. Make sure that you are fully prepared and make sure that you influence them. That makes an end to our presentation in a brief way on public speaking. We are learning these seminars, but also we can design a mentor for you if you want to build up your capability and abilities. So this makes up an introduction, but it also is like a 360 coverage for purpose of you to get the broad knowledge on presentation skills and public speaking. For further elaboration, further mentorship session, please contact us through our website for info@imct.org.tz. Otherwise, thank you very much. I see you making a top presenter. Until next session, bye for now.